Good afternoon, everybody, wherever you is. Hey, thank you, folks. You know, we got to test the audio real quick. All right, I can hear it there. I heard that C. I think that was a C. Hey, I got a little thing I'm playing around with right now, folks. I was inspired by Tesla to do my drone fly throughout the building. So it's a lot slower, but we're going to be editing this. We got a lot of stuff, putting all the furniture and everything in place inside the sanctuary. Let me see, where else can we jump to? Got a lot of stuff going on, folks. So we're going to be doing a lot of editing on these videos. There's my pipe. It has a little bend in it, but hey, you know, excited about everything that is going on over there. So anyway, thank you so much for stopping by, folks. AJay the CEO. What we try to do is every Friday, as best as we possibly can, get up on here and try and help you with your tech questions, your media questions, and I still have not updated that. I'm probably just going to do something new with that. But anyway, thank you so much for stopping by. If you could do me a big favor, if you can go ahead and hit that like button. I don't know what's going on with the algorithm and all this other stuff, but hey, the more likes, it pushes the video out to more people. Hey, I try and do the best I possibly can. All I'm asking y'all to do is take a half a second and hit that like button. Really appreciate it. If I don't get to your question, folks, realize you can always email me at questions@ajhomes.com. Also, if you are interested in a consultation, you can always go down below to ajhomes.com/consultations. There was an issue. I've actually been on out of office for all the way up until next Friday. I don't know. Some people have been able to book something, so we're rescheduling those because those were made by accident. You should not have been able to make anything. Been really busy with Signs and Wonders, Guildfield, and a bunch of other ministries, especially I was up in Bristol and things like that. So my apologies if anybody booked something and it didn't come through because we had a little technical snafu, just like me trying to reach over here and turn my fan on here. Come on now. Thank you. There we go. So again, thank you for that, for your patience. If you haven't, folks, make sure you go ahead and stop by the Facebook group. You can always just add your info there. Join over 2,700 media ministries from all over the world where we're working together to and increase everyone's knowledge and all that other good stuff. We just had a roundtable. We got another one. Not this Sunday, but the Sunday after that. And really excited about all that. And I didn't start up my screen so I can read this. Give me 1 second. And that little disturbance in the force that you're hearing is from my fan. So, I don't know. Anyway, let's go ahead and holler at some folks here that are joining me here online. SBC Memphis, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you is. Thank you. Mike, thanks for stopping by. Damien, what's going on? Welcome back, Advent Flame. Christopher, what is going on? Parker, thank you for joining. Delisa, hello, from Durham, North Carolina. We're going to be driving past that way tomorrow. A2DAJ954, hello, from Florida. Alfronto, sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Hello, thank you for joining. Team RHO, what's up, man? Benoit, I've been practicing on my French. hello from Paris. Streets of Destiny, what's going on? What else we got in here? Brian Jones, what's going on? Mike, what is up, sir? Mike is a moderator here, so if y'all get out of character, he's got me on there. He's got a copy of it, so he can go ahead and lay the smack down. What'd you say, Mike? Drop some love and thunder? Pun on the new movie. Mr. Clarence, Hello, hello. The fan is really, I need some air, but I don't like the noise it's making. Bring it down just a little bit. Shane and Hannah, what is going on? Norm, hello, hello. Keith, what is going on? Again, want to apologize for the folks, my Patreon supporters. When I posted the link to the roundtable that we did, I actually copied. It looked like when I copied the link, I copied nothing but the thumbnail instead. So everything should be good now. So again, thank you for that. Y'all said my volume is low. I'm gonna turn it up a little bit, and let me turn my headphones down. All right. I could barely hear myself when I turn it down right there. Is that better for y'all? All right, that's playing back. It sounds fine to me. I'm on 38 in volume here. So let me know. Scott, what is going on? Atlanta Deliverance. Hello, good morning. Pbrax 28. What's going on? Steven from New Jersey. What's up? I just left from up there. Bruce Adams. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for joining and appreciate you watching back later. Ty. Hello, hello. And Darius, what is going on? And I think I've cycled through everybody. So, like I said, folks, I'm here to try and share as much as I possibly can. We are going to be shutting down right at 12 because I need to get an oil change. And then I got to go fix the mics at Antioch. Then I might actually drive down to South Carolina early, just so I don't have, it's a 5.5 hour drive. So, yeah, I ain't trying to do that in one sitting. But we're going to be down in St. Stephen, South Carolina, on the east side of the state to help out a ministry that I built a streaming system for them. Got an ATEM. They got some cameras. We're going to go down there, tweak, and get everything set up for them. So let me jump back and fire away your questions, folks, and we'll do the best that we can to get those answers for you. Go to page 1 here. Oh, Vaughn, man, my bad. Hey. Thank you for joining. Okay. Al is from Ghana. Thank you so much. Yeah, it probably is. I had everything tweaked when I was originally having this stuff going into my X32. I am not using the X32 right now for the audio because I'm trying to get some other stuff tweaked for that. So I'm going directly to my Rodecaster, but let me see. Give me 1 second. I'm going to unplug the fat head on here, and I'm going to go just straight. All right. How does that sound? So I got one of these because on the Rodecaster, I got to crank the audio levels almost all the way to the top when I'm using this, just so that it sounds good. So a lot of the activity sounds better. Let me unmute myself for a second. Yeah, so like right now, I'm almost maxed out on the Rodecaster. So this allowed me a little play area, but I'm going to keep it not on here right now. Let me know how that sounds for y'all now. Atlanta Deliverance. First question I'm seeing here. Have an issue with the ATEM Mini Pro. Our sound is cutting out or better to say clipping, using a quarter inch to a 1/8 cable for sound board headphone jack to ATEM. If you're coming from the headphone jack, learn this from Chuck Taylor. If you have another option, please do not try and come out of the headphone. What board are you connecting to? So we can see what we can do with that. And I'm so used to this. The loudness of this sounds weird to me. So for those who are saying that they don't like the microphone in the shot, sorry, we got to do it today. All right, thanks everybody. Said the sound is good. So if that's the case, you know, I'm gonna put this back. Nah, I already changed the adjustments. I don't feel like doing that now. So we're both gonna have to stick with this for right here. Let's see. Cares of the Covenant. Hello, hello. Team RHO. The X32 video with the online and in-house mix was great. I still haven't been able to connect my X32 to my streaming computer via Wi-Fi to control the mix. Any help? Well, first off, make sure that, like, mine is connected over Ethernet. There is no Wi-Fi module that I know of that goes to the X32. If you're connected, the only other issue that you would have in a connection issue, let me turn mine on here. And let's go ahead and open this up. And the only reason why you wouldn't be able to see that is if everything is not updated. So if we cut over here, so mine is syncing up right now. And the first thing we're going to do is go to our settings, which put it on a different monitor for whatever reason. The first thing is you need to make sure you're in the right version, because if you haven't, I'm currently 4.06. It won't let you connect unless you're on the right version. Check that first. But then most likely it's just you got to make sure that the Ethernet is in the back. I'm not aware of any way for the X32s to do Wi-Fi directly. Those are more of the XR Airs 8 and 16, I think, that do that natively. But it should be straightforward. And that's the X32 Edit app that I have that works on Mac, PC. I actually need to put it on my Mac, and also on Linux. So let me know you had that. Rohan, question here. And where's my screen so I can read it? Best audio option for live stream interface or ATEM mini mic input? Well, it all depends. I do mine through the connection into the ATEM so that it handles all the syncing directly. When you're talking about an interface, you're going from whatever your mixer directly to your computer. I like to have everything lean on the ATEM so all of the processing isn't done on any system. That's just me. But at my church, we actually do it. Well, actually, we do it completely different. We have the ATEM Television Studio HD, which, mental note, AJ, bring that up. Mental note to myself to talk about that. But it all depends, because it's been a mixture of both. And me personally, even though my system over here can handle it separately, and it kind of is doing it separately right now, I'm coming in from the Rodecaster directly into what y'all are hearing, and I'm bypassing the ATEM right now. But most of the time, like when I'm doing the Signs and Wonders, everything like that, everything is going through the ATEM as the hub. So I don't think there's a better. I just think from a simplicity standpoint, I have everything go to the ATEM. That's just me. And while I had the mental note, I know Chris was asking if I've watched anything that's going on in NAB. No, I have not had a chance, but I did see this on Sunday, that the new ATEM Constellation HD, which this right here, if y'all saw my video when I was talking about the Smart Video Hub, this would be the great pairing with that, but you might not even need this. So looking at the back, you actually have 10 inputs instead of 8, and you have 6 addressable outputs. So you can have 6 separate outputs if you wanted to, which I think is really cool. Yeah, these folks, man, they always cranking it up a notch. Really, really looking forward to this. The only downside to this is obviously you would need to have mainly just your computer convert over to SDI. but everything else, like all the cameras that we've been talking about, the Famaco, the PTZ optics, the ADA imaging, the SMT AV, the AV cans, all of them have an SDI out, and they can just go natively in. It also has streaming built in here as well too. So you got a USB right there, so it will show up. Now let me take that back. I don't know if this natively will stream. Now that I think about it, it will just, instead of needing a capture card, it's just going to connect to your computer over USB. So anybody that's comfortable with the A10 minis, it will do all of that. I'm just wondering, I almost want to get my hands on one, but there's no need for me to have one here because everything I have here is HDMI. But again, that's one thing I did notice. Really cool. And we've been waiting for them to do an update on that one. So they actually got rid of the XLR inputs as well too. It's 1/4 inches now. Interesting. Christopher wants to know, how often should the logo of your church show in the stream? Well, it all depends. It's kind of like mine right now. I have YouTube set up to always show my image in the lower left. That's more for a copyright type of thing. So if anybody sample my stuff, my logo would be there unless they just crop in the shot. If you do some type of translucency, I wouldn't think it would be a problem showing it the entire time. But again, I think when you're doing any type of graphics and stuff like that, lean more towards television. If you're watching like any of these channels, that networks that put their logo up, how often they put it up. I mean, just me, if I'm thinking if your stuff was 30 minutes long, I would probably put it up 3 times every 10 minutes. That's just me. But what do y'all say? Francisco, good morning. Good morning. Okay, Atlanta Deliverance says they have a Yamaha Pro. I'm not too familiar with that board. Let me look that up. Yamaha Pro mixer. I don't have a direct one. It's giving me a whole bunch of mixers here, so I don't know exactly which one it is. There's not one called specifically the Yamaha Pro, but let me know, and we'll see what we can do to try and get some type of answer for you. All right, everybody's saying that you don't hear the background noise. Yeah, it's because of the settings on the Rodecaster. I really like the Rodecaster, but now that I have the X32, I'm probably going to lean towards moving that stuff there. I just need to do my output so I can actually, instead of disconnecting this all the time, I can have everything connected directly to my ATEM, to each computer. Since I have all the outputs, I just need to get some more cables, but yay. Gordon, yeah? Good morning, AJ. I got the Ryzen 5 laptop per your general advice about the Ryzen 5 and 7 for vMix. It works great and is the fastest system I've used to date. Awesome. Glad it is working out for you. Back to Team Orange Show. I am using a wireless router connected to the back. I would think you should be able to see that. Make sure that you got your routing, and not your routing, but your IP and everything like that set up. I don't know if it'll let me do it through the software here. Yeah, just make sure that you're getting an IP address. You can see that under setup, and then go over to network, and then you should be able to make sure it's not on static, or if you got static, just set it to the right one. That's strange. I mean, because if you got it plugged in like that, I mean, it should just work. A2DAJ954, long name. Hey, AJ, my church uses StreamYard with a USB camera as a webcam, and audio comes from the XR18. That's the one we just talked about. Aux out to the A10 Mini. My question is, why does our sound on Facebook and YouTube sound so bad? I need an example of what you got. The other thing is, what and it's going to StreamYard. Yeah, I would see what the quality is that StreamYard is sending out your audio. It's been a minute since I've used StreamYard, so let me try and see if I still have my account, so I can at least see if they've made any changes. And I admit, I remember getting playing around with StreamYard when they first came out, and they have made a lot of significant changes. And if I can remember the account I used, there we go. All right, let's open up my email and let's get my account verification code or whatever. And while I'm doing this, y'all got any major plans for the weekend? All right, there's my code. Like I said, Signs and Wonders ribbon cutting is on the 12th, and then has 2 services on that following Sunday. I'm trying to see. I'm in StreamYard. I'm just trying to find if there are any audio settings in here. All right, settings. Let me cut over here. And hopefully I don't show too much in here. See, it's picking up my camera here. Settings, audio. I mean, I would say play around with turning off the echo cancellation and turn off the automatic adjust mic volume and see what you get with that. Those are the only 2 settings. You know, and maybe stereo audio might improve it as well too. I mean, those are the only settings you got, and that's kind of like the same general settings you can adjust inside of like Zoom and other stuff like that. So I would say check that out. All right, I think that was it. Some email came in here. Sorry, I just had an email coming here. All right, let's get back to your questions here. Back to Atlanta Deliverance. So you're saying find another output source. Also, would I get better sound using a Focusrite box or something similar? Well, it all depends. The Focusrite, yeah, it's just going to convert whatever your output into a USB connection. You know, so the handling of the conversion is being done on the Focusrite, and it just comes in off a USB. But I don't know yet, because I need to know exactly the type of board that you're doing. But you said, hold on, let me go back in the past here. I think you were saying, yeah, you're going from, yes, I'm sorry, I had to think back. Yeah, don't come out of the headphone. Come out of a 1/4 inch XLR output on the back, or aux out or something like that. Do that. Don't come out from the headphones. Again, that's Chuck Taylor. He actually works in radio, and he's the one that gave that suggestion. Please, yes, don't do that. Because I was doing that originally too, and he was like, please don't do that. Kyle, hello. All right, Team RHO, I don't have access to the network at the X32. Okay. Yeah, might need to look at that when next time you get a chance, just to go through the setup when you get to the X32, just to see if it's even pulling the IP address. Because it sounds like if the router is fine and you're connecting to it, the only thing it could be is either it's a bad cable, or you're just not getting anything on the X32, or the firmware is not updated. Lee Wallace wants to know, do you have a website I can look at? I will be setting up lower thirds for a live stream, just the pro side most likely. I mean, I don't know of any website. I mean, I have like stuff that I've had on YouTube of how I've done that. I mean, like, what are you thinking about using to set it up, or you're just vanilla? You don't have anything. You want to start from ground zero? Let me know. Back to Kyle. Good morning, AJ. Are you familiar with using multicast with NDI or otherwise? I'm trying to stream to multiple sources at our church, but I keep getting bottlenecked. Our upload speed is 18 megabyte. I mean, well, yeah, if you're trying to multicast, it depends. If your upload speed is only that, I mean, what are you trying to stream to? And multicasting with NDI, I mean, that's putting pressure on the system, NDI in general. And then if you're trying to go to multiple streams, you're going to be duplicating that if you have not set the setting to, say, if you got an 18 megabit upload divided by 3, if you're doing 3 signals out, and limit the upload to 6 megabytes or lower for each stream. You got to set stuff like that. I mean, need some more detail about that, but that might be a bit much. I think the bottleneck is most likely is trying to mimic the settings without me looking. Is most likely trying to mimic the settings across all your streams. So it's trying to send a max upload speed times 3, which is not going to work. You might need to lower it for each individual stream. Again, that is without me looking at it. Streets of Destiny, I switched to a Windows PC with a GPU, OBS not recognizing the GPU. Well, most likely the GPU that you have, well, what is the GPU? If it's an NVIDIA one, it needs to have an X in the name. That's what gives you hardware encoding. And then with an AMD one, I think it's above the 5600 numbers. So like if you have a 5000 series, you need to have at least a 5600 or higher, I believe, or it might be 55. I don't remember off the top of my head. Just because you have a GPU doesn't mean that it's 3D accelerated. That is what's using it. And then also that 3D acceleration needs to have hardware encoding built into the card. So the GTX line, the RTX line handles those. But what type of GPU is in your system? Thomas Mayers here. I use a Canon R80 camcorder through OBS, and we've started to get grainy streaming when we're looking at it on Restream, which is what sends our stream out to Facebook and YouTube. How do I fix it? Well, first off, what is the bit rate that you have set in OBS for your stream? First off, so like if we open up OBS here, this. So if we go into OBS, we need to come over here to settings and then output. What is your video bit rate? Right now, mine is at 10,000, but I don't stream on this system. What is that? That's going to give you how much data is being put into every frame that's going out of your stream. What is that number at? I think Facebook wants at least 4,000, and YouTube is kind of the same way. But what is that? That would cause the graininess there, but need to know what that number is. Anthony Johnson. Good morning, AJ. Mic input for my A10 Mini Pro is making video. Before my audio, hold on, wait a minute. Mic input for my A10 Mini Pro is making video before my audio from 2 of my 3 cameras. If I come through a camera, then audio will be out of sync on 3rd camera. So let me rephrase that. So you have the audio coming directly to the A10, and you're wondering about it being out of sync. Again, this is the reason why I like to have my audio being separate. I don't want to bring the audio in from a camera because you might have a syncing issue, but I don't know. I've never noticed it being out of sync like that. Everything is connected over HDMI. That's strange. Let me know what's the do you have an option of bringing in the audio directly, not through the camera, but directly into the ATEM? Let me know about that. Ty wants to know, what's your rule of thumb for choosing fiber HDMI, standard HDMI, or SDI for a video cable run? Budget, distance, manageability, existing cable infrastructure, or what you have on hand? Honestly, the first thing for me is budget, because I like SDI better than everything, but SDI requires, for the most part, a converter on both sides, and at minimum, that's going to be $100 a run to do that, and that's not including the cable. Now, you can get 1,000 feet of RG6 cable and make your own cable if you're comfortable with that, but most of the time, a lot of the people I've talked to, it's been a budget type of thing, and going with fiber removes the need of having to go with converters. Now, if I'm doing like the ATEM television studio that has SDI inputs, I'll go with that for my cameras and leave the HDMIs to the computer. I like a good mix, and then I don't have to buy the converters. Actually, you still do, because now it depends when you're doing a distribution to TVs. The ATEM only has SDI out, and you got to convert it. It's mainly from a budget standpoint. Just realize that if you're using SDI, a good rule of thumb is you're going to need to put a $55 to $65 converter on either end of the cable for every run that you're doing, and that runs up really, really quick. I always offer that at first. If a client is saying that they want to lower the price, then I go over to fiber HDMI. Fiber HDMI is my only option other than SDI if they're long runs. Standard HDMI cables are only for local stuff, like connecting the ATEM to the monitor that's about 2 to 3 feet away from it, a computer or a laptop that's on the floor that's coming to the system. That's the only time I'll use standard HDMI cables if anything is within 10 feet of what it's supposed to be connected to. Yeah, so the first thing is budget, and that's it. Now, a couple of times I've used fiber HDMI, but because of the infrastructure, it's been horrible. I don't know how magnetic fields were interfering with light in a fiber optic cable, but I don't know. I normally, if, like, for example, at Signs and Wonders, I have fiber HDMI everywhere, but because of the distance and because the cable was going to be outside, that's when I ran an SDI cable outside, because it's weatherproof. It's made for that, even though it's inside of a PVC pipe running around the building. So it's mainly for distance and manageability in that type of scenario. So hopefully that helps. Thomas, I don't think you would need to be quite honest. I mean, unless you really want to buy a new camera. Because even if you get a new camera, those settings are going to affect no matter what camera you got. Like right now, I'm using a 4K camera, but if I drop the bit rate down, it's going to look horrible. You know, you got to get that part first. And then if that fixes it, then you can always add a better image if you want to. Better camera, excuse me, if you want to. Vaughn, one of two. We finished renovating our banquet hall. We have a TV out there, however, but we want to put some speakers out there that connect to our house. We have an X32 and 2 S6s. I'm thinking of just going with a few small powered speakers connected to the board directly, but go with passive speakers and an amp. Any equipment you suggested or other ways you've done it? I mean, it's a couple of ways I've done that. How far away is the banquet hall? Is it close to the main audio? Because if it's not and there's not any bleed in, I would pull my source from whatever that's coming to the TV. You could, whatever type of signal that's going to the TV, you could extract the audio out of that and then send that to an amp in your speakers. The main difference between me and amps and powered speakers is the availability of electricity near each one. If I don't want to worry about an amp, and I normally go with powered speakers. That's just me. Um, but let me know the answer to that question, and that would let me help dictate a lot of the direction I would go in that. Back to Lee. With an A10 Mini Pro, will the camera need a HDMI connection in the A10 Mini Pro along with presentation computer? Yes. Yes, it will. Shane and Hannah. On Monday, we're having someone come to church and do some drone filming for us for a welcome video. Awesome. Awesome. It sounds like a toy effect, and the mics are so much louder than the music, and our live stream aux channel is set up pretty good. And said, okay, I will try that. Awesome. All right. Francisco wants to know, and I need to hook this cable up. I had my other camera on the floor, but I forgot I took the power cable out, so I had it pointing at the X32 on the floor. Dude, can you see it on this camera? I don't think you can. But yeah, it's right there. So the web presenter that I used to have under my table, I moved into this rack right here. That was one of the racks I was actually gonna have at a church. So I ended up just taking that before I put it in the church, and I bought another one. So that one actually, I think, has got delivered today. And that's what's going to Gilfield. But does the X32 connect to PC through USB, Ethernet, or both? You can control it over Ethernet, but natively, unless you have some type of DAW card or something like that, you can't interact and get data from it over Ethernet. Mine would be connected for control over Ethernet, and then I have a USB B cable, like a printer cable, old printer cable. That's how it can connect and pull audio from it. So that's the plan to connect the X32 to my streaming system over USB. But then for the ATEM, I have an aux out that I did like in that video. That's what's connected to audio to my ATEM. So yes, you can have both, but they won't do the same thing. Hopefully that answers your question. Back to Lee. ProPresenter 7 will be used to have the stream going to YouTube Live. I need to play around with that some more. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of having one app do multiple things. I mean, because ProPresenter, even though I've used it, that thing has bombed out sometimes. And if that was handling my stream at my church, I'm like, okay, we might be out with lyrics and scripture, but the stream is still going. That's just me personally. Anybody else streaming with ProPresenter 7? Let me know in the comments. I want to see how that's performing for y'all. But the second comment here from Lee, and they already have everything set up on the streaming side of things, I believe. Okay, cool. Back to Kyle saying, I have no idea how to set up the multicast. We have 3 30x cameras. What is actually doing your streaming? Are you doing OBS? Are you doing just the ATEM? Let me know that, and then we can try and direct it. What's the best way to connect 5 TVs to one HDMI? I mean, it's a splitter. I've used a bunch of them from Ori. You can always just get a regular 1x8. That's what I've actually been using for most of my installs, even if they're not using all 4 outputs. I normally get this Ori HDMI splitter, and it's a 1x8. And I don't know why Amazon is slow today. So this is the one that I've been, using on a bunch of my installs, and this is a 1x8. It's only $55, and this one has worked fine for me. And then you go fiber HDMI cables. Now you also could do a HDMI Ethernet extender, a 1x8, because they don't have a 5. You could go with something like this, but for me, it all depends on how far away the TVs are. That's the main thing. Because once you start getting into these, they start to get pretty much up there. And even if I was going with those 5, so if we went back with, make sure there's nothing in my cart. If I went with this, and then you had 5, so I'll say 100-foot fiber HDMI cables. And I'll go with the ones that I normally use, and say I get 5 of these. So now, in that total, we're looking at $355, and that still comes in less than some of those extenders that you still need to get Ethernet cables for. So that's just me. That's what I would do in the easiest way for when I've connected that types of stuff. And let me remove this from my cart so I don't accidentally buy this. I will put a link down here below. Now, again, it is only 1080p, but if you're using the ATEM, any of those lines, unless you're doing the ME switcher that has 4K, this 1080p one is perfectly fine. Because, you're not going to be sending 4K images out from the ATEM anyway. So that's why I've been sticking with these, even though all the TVs I'm installing are 4K. Kyle, might be a misunderstanding on here. You said I've never set up multicast and my router doesn't support it. This wouldn't be a router thing that would support the multicasting. I'm just wondering, what are you thinking? What is the source of sending out your stream? That's the first thing we need to know. Back to Thomas. You're saying I have it at 2,500, but in Restream it says bitrate is outside of the recommended amount. Yeah, because it needs to be up to at least 4,000. Try that and see if that works for you. Hey, DJ, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm glad I'm able to help. Kyle, this also depends on what you're using. Because the cameras have, did I turn off the ones at Antioch? I think I did. I actually put them so it doesn't stay on the whole time. I have my phone on silent so people won't call me here. But I'm going to log into one of the cameras here and show you. Because there's a bitrate setting on the camera. That's local. That is normally going out over, the bitrate on the camera is only going to be relative if you're sending it over NDI. And that's how much data is being sent. Thank you, Ty, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. The bitrate that's going from the camera, that's only going to be affected if you're using the NDI in-house. So I'm waiting to turn the cameras on here so I can see if I can connect to my cameras here at the church. So it's kind of hard to say that because that bit rate is dependent on how much your network can support. That's just internal. And then you have another hub that's handling the input of all your systems. There's another bit rate on it, like what I just showed in OBS on what it does to send out. So it's a couple of things with that. All right, my camera is on. Well, not yet. It's not on yet. All right, I'm going to wait for that, and I'll be able to visit that, and we'll come back to that. Pathways Technologies wants to know, would you recommend a Canon M50 Mark II for streaming for churches? No. I'm being biased. I don't do DSLR cameras for streaming. because of a lot of limitations that they will have on it. Battery life, the lenses, expenses, and stuff like that. Me personally, I like camcorders mainly because they're meant for long form content. That's me personally. So that is a weighted question, and I have bias on a part of that. I just don't use DSLRs cameras. So I would say no for that. But let me make sure so I'm not just speaking in a knee-jerk reaction. Let me look up the Mark II. Oh, yeah, definitely no. I would not use that. Anthony, and I am still waiting for my system at church to start up. All right, it's on now. So I'll come back to that here in a second. Where's my camera? Anthony, I go directly into the mic input, but I receive my video before I hear my audio, and that's coming through the ATEM? That's very, very strange. Make sure in your ATEM software that the delay isn't turned on accidentally. If you receive your video before the audio, I have rarely ever seen that. But when I have seen it, it's been something like this. So inside of the ATEM software here, what we need to do is come over here to the gear and then go to, oh, actually, no. I'm in the wrong one. Go to audio down here, and then you have your delay right here. Make sure that that's not accidentally set to something, because I would expect more of the audio to come first than your video, because audio doesn't have as much data that's being transmitted compared to video. Something is delaying that audio. And that is very, very strange. But I would say check that first for that. Now, let me see. Let's go to the camera here. And let's go full screen. All right, so here, this is down at the church. And what's the IP address for that? So this is going back to the question about the bit rate. So if we come down here and video, so all of these bit rate settings right here, this is for if you were streaming and doing anything from the camera. This is not an NDI model, but these settings go to that, the protocol of sending it over the network. So again, you don't want, I mean, I've been at one church where they had a 4K PTZ camera, and they had these settings so high that the network couldn't maintain how much data it was trying to send. So that's one thing you need to be aware about. That's your internal. That has nothing to do with external. That's just sending to the main hub that's sending the live stream out, which that hub also has another bit rate of what it's going to compress or expand the video out when it goes out. So those are the things you need to be aware of for those. So your bit rate here directly is not going to be affecting the camera. Hopefully, not the camera. I don't know. I'm stepping on myself. That's not going to affect the live stream, because unless you're going directly from the camera to a service, that bit rate is not going to be affected like that. Otis, what is going on, sir? All right, Streets of Destiny. Yeah, that one doesn't have it. The hardware encoding. You need something a little bit higher than that. So, I mean, you can play around with, I mean, it's funny. I have a GT 730, which, again, doesn't have an X, but for some odd reason, it registers in the NVIDIA software that it has hardware encoding. You can try one of those. Those cards on Amazon are like $60. So, Thomas wants to know, what other software do you recommend? I mean, I'm using vMix to do everything that we're doing here. Just realized that that does have a cost. The baseline version is $60. Then the next step up from that, I think, is $400. So, I mean, you could try XSplit and other stuff like that. Or if you're doing a restream, you could just use the one that's web-based and see if that works for you. Back to Lee. Will both computers also need the HDMI connection to the ATEM? No. The only time you would need to connect anything to the ATEM over HDMI is if you want to show it as an option for something. So, like, for example, if I cut over to my camera right now, this is my ATEM, and it's showing all of my inputs. All of these inputs have an HDMI connection because ultimately that's what I want to show to you. So, I mean, if we go to this camera right here, you can see that. And my Mac is not turned on. We just saw the studio camera that's over here. My turning on the overhead camera. So, I mean, then we got that one. Then we got right monitor, the center monitor, the streaming system that's handling the stream, and then my camera here. That's the only reason why HDMI would be connected to your ATEM at all. Is if it's trying to show any type of data, video or input, whatever, from there. So you don't need it just for a connection standpoint. Let me here. Hi, how to send different signal to different devices, projected TV from Wirecast or any hardware software. Wirecast, I'm not familiar with that. I would probably try and send a message over to Monty Weaver for that one. I have not used Wirecast in a minute ever since they're now paid, so I don't have a paid Wirecast one. We never hit our goal to do the Wirecast. I think it was like $600 in Patreon. I was going to buy one. We didn't hit that, so I don't have a license for that, so I can't really answer that one right now. But Monty uses it all the time. Check him out. I'm sure he'd be happy to give you an answer on how to do that. I just don't know it off the top of my head. Back to Vaughn. Banquet hall right beside sanctuary separated by a wall. Was thinking about using the TV too. It's connected by the ORI system, but there's a slight delay in the audio. That's distracting. Now, so the Aura is connected inside the sanctuary, and that's HDMI or Ethernet that's being sent that's connected to the TVs. In moments like this is where I would remove all of the processing, because that Aura is doing maybe like 2 to 3 or 5 frames of processing before it sends it. So for me, I would try and remove as much as possible. And in these type of scenarios, if I was that close, I would try and run everything HDMI directly to each TV as best as possible. So the most I would have is the main output from my ATEM to a splitter, and then splitter directly to the TV with no converters, no nothing in the way to add frames. Because every time you add a piece of hardware, you're at least adding 1 frame of delay in the signal that's going to be going to it. And once people, you said it yourself, once it's distracting, in other words, people notice it, that's when you need to change it. So there's a delay at Antioch, but again, it's noticeable to me because of all the video editing I'm doing with it. The average person, they don't notice it. So until the congregation starts complaining or anybody complains about a distraction, you're good. I forgot how many frames it is before it really gets noticeable. But I would have to look at that. Back to Lee. What if the computer with ProPresenter is hooked in to an HDMI splitter? Will the ATEM be connected to the splitter? The splitter distributes to our projector and stage screen. No. No, I wouldn't think so, because if ProPresenter is hooked to the splitter, your splitter is acting as your, well, you got a couple of ways you can do this. Let's go ahead and break out that draw IO on this one. So it's a couple of ways you can do this. So let me just make a mental note of what you said that you're using in here. So you got a computer. Mommy got you a computer. I remember I did that, and nobody answered that reference. That was from the movie Hackers, how they did that. So you got your computer here, and that's ProPresenter. And you got yourself a splitter, and then you got yourself some televisions. Television. I'll just do a bunch of these like this to make it easy. All right, so this is already connected to each one. No, do it on the side. Whatever. We'll just do it like this. Oh, now you want to do it right. Awesome. So we got these connected like this. And right now, you said you have your system sent right here. So all this is doing is sending whatever your scripture, your lyrics, whatever is coming from ProPresenter is going directly here. Now, if you're trying to add an ATEM inside of this, you have a couple of ways you can do this. You could just have a secondary output come from the ATEM, and now, you know, you can turn on and off your presentations, whatever's coming to the ATEM. This is how I have it at Signs and Wonders. We're connected to our TVs, the digital wall and the back screen that's going to show us our stage display and then the digital wall. Then I have another output that's formatted in a lower third format that I can turn on and off here in the ATEM. That's one way that you can do it. Or you could, I don't know why I deleted that. You could put your ATEM here and then have your cameras and everything going to the ATEM, and then ProPresenter going directly to your ATEM. But I think you were saying that the ProPresenter is handling your live stream. I mean, because you could let the ATEM handle the live stream, and then the output is going to your splitter, and now you have the choice of your scripture and lyrics and cameras going to that. It depends on your layout. I mean, it can go either way. Just need some direction on what's the end result. That's kind of like the reason why I do a lot of the videos and I do the design, because I ask the questions, what's going to go on the TV, and that will dictate how the layout is going to work. William Mitchell, out of sync audio. We have a simple one camera setup. The audio is taken from the mixer into the audio input on the computer. We are using OBS. How to adjust? Most likely, if it's out of sync, your system is not fast enough to process it. It's processing the audio faster than the video. What are the specs on your system? So we can go from that. Or possibly, how about, is it possible to send, I personally don't like doing this, but this is an option. Try and send the audio to the camera so that the audio and video are coming from the same connection from the camera into OBS. So it's not trying to process two different streams. It's just processing one. But again, this is a video I was telling somebody else I'm going to do. 3 of the most common, no, I think it's 3 or 5 of the most common issues resolved with your live stream. And the number one out of all the churches I've ever talked to is their system is just not fast enough to handle the task of encoding and live streaming. That's what I'm thinking right now. But again, that's a knee-jerk reaction answer. But need to know mainly your specs on your system before I can say conclusively if that's going to be it or not. Shane here. I'm monitoring my time, folks. I got 30 minutes because I got an oil change we got to do. Actually, I'm going to do the church stuff first and then go get my oil change. What do you think should be contained within the following video type? A video on YouTube and a video on a website and a video that we show each morning on on Sunday. What do you think should be contained? I mean, well, that all depends. It depends on your traffic. I mean, you could do all of them. And from a YouTube standpoint, I mean, different forms of content, long form content. That's what like this is a very long, 2-hour long video that's going to be on YouTube. But then I was doing shorts that are under 90 seconds. Then I have other videos that are under 10 minutes. Then I have other ones that are under 20 minutes. It's your different content based off of what you're trying to do. So from a service standpoint, maybe do the entire service, long form content, and put that on YouTube, but then share the direct link to your website. But then also on YouTube, or a show for each Sunday, you could do a highlights reel that could still go on YouTube, but then it's linked to your website. I mean, it kind of depends on the content exactly. And yeah, it's kind of hard to say because it could be a bunch of them. Paul, thank you for joining from Malaysia. Okay. Kyle saying everything is being sent through OBS. Okay, so based off of that, just like I was saying before, I think the NDI settings need to be tweaked for whatever your network is. And I'm going to ask this question. Please don't tell me. When you're running the NDI, is that over a wired connection or is that over Wi-Fi? That's the first question. And then secondly, what are the specs on the computer that are running OBS? Need those. Paul, cheaper version similar to the web presenter. I mean, you can get the non-4K version, and that's $495. I mean, honestly, you're going to be hard pressed to get anything less than that, unless, yeah, it's going to be really tough because even if you built a computer, you're not going to be able to build a computer for less than that price that can do that task. But I would be on the look out for it. I'm not familiar with something like that. Mitch Roy, what is going on? Philippe, hello. Star Classic 71. Sir, if I'm using vMix Pro and I'm going to have 6 NDI camera inputs and maybe an additional 2 more inputs, either HDMI or NDI, what computer hardware do you recommend including video card? I would do for that a minimum of again, y'all know I'm going to mention the AMD. An AMD Ryzen 7, maybe a 5700G that has a GPU inside of it that can solve for that. That will solve both of those questions. That should be enough to handle all of that. The main thing for that, you would need to throw at least 32 gigs of memory at that system for that. If you wanted to do it separately, I would go with maybe a Ryzen 5 5700, and then on a separate graphics card, maybe a 2060 if you can get one, or a 3060. Just know that's going to be a little expensive. I'd rather go with the Ryzen 7 5700G that's going to give you a bunch of cores and threads, and it's going to have a GPU built in that should be able to handle that. But again, get an SSD for the drive and throw some memory at that 32 gigs minimum. That's what I would think for that type of setup. Thomas wants to know, if my upload speed is at 6.37 megabits per second, is that okay for streaming? It's been that speed since we started streaming nearly 2 years ago. It's doable. It's going to be tight. I would change it to 720p. And you should be good. Like right now, I'm using the web presenter and I'm streaming at 1080p 60. My upload speed right now is consistently at 8 megabits per second. That's what it's doing just for this. So maybe drop it down to 720p and you should be good. And maybe at a 3,000 kilobits per second, something like that. Maybe that would work. There you go, Mike. Yeah, I love. Now the hacking is nowhere close to being realistic, but man, I love that. Plus, I loved Angelina Jolie, so pretty. But anyway, so everybody got it. Yay! Yep, yep. Let's see. Paul, question: I am using my laptop that is Windows 11, 12 gigabytes of memory, Intel Iris. You gotta look that one up. That's 512 gigabytes hard drive space. Because if that's memory, you're a beast. Um, that's running OBS to stream and sending video to an overflow room and running Touch Portal at the same time. Sounds like a lot. But let's get to the next part. When streaming, my laptop system overall usage is at 70%. But if I do any graphics movements in OBS, the frame per second drop. Any suggestion? Yeah, that I'm looking at the Iris right now. Trying to pull it up. And I really wish I had access to some more computer stuff because I want to do I was thinking about building a system, maybe get the system I got, and I got a 200 GE AMD. That's like a 2-core system. And I wanted to do a stream on all of them just to show what it can and can't do. All right, so from the Iris one, but I need to know what model is it? Because I'm trying to get I need some more details so I can get exactly, do you have a spec number or something like that for the CPU so that way I know exactly which one I'm looking for? Because, you kind of, remember when I was saying most of the time it's because the system isn't spec'd high enough? This is kind of what I'm thinking from that. Because honestly, 70 is a bit much, honestly, to do that, to have everything. If you were saying maybe 40, that would be okay. But that's a bit much to do that. And plus, you kind of gave the answer that if you try to do anything, it tanks. It means that you've reached the limit of what the system can do. Thomas, that's kind of an open-ended question because, honestly, what you could do, I have a video on that. If you're streaming to Facebook, you can get an embed code, take that code and paste it on your website. You can also do that on YouTube and any of the other platforms for the most part that you have. So, like, if I go to our church website, at Antioch. So right here, I haven't had a chance to rebuild our site after it got hacked. This is the bare minimum. But right here, if I click on this is the embed of our streaming. I just took the code they gave us and then copy it here and paste it inside the page. That's all you got to do. Really, really, really simple. As long as you have access to the back end of your website, you don't even got to write the code. So, like, let me see if I can actually do this here. So, like right now, if I go to this stream right now that I'm doing. So if I go here and, see, let me put myself here in the bottom so you can see I'm live. I can come in here to share, and there's your embed code. You would just copy that, and then you would paste that on your site. That's it. So it's right there if you were streaming to YouTube. Similar type of thing in Facebook. It should be pretty straightforward there for you. Lee, I just got word the ATEM Mini Pro will strictly be to distribute words. However, the computer with, I just got word ProPresenter will strictly be to distribute words. However, computer with ProPresenter only has one HDMI slot going into the splitter. How can I do a separate connection straight from the computer to the ATEM? We did this on one, and this is one thing that you can do. check out my video where I talk about how to handle different distributions, multiple screens at the same time for presenter and pro presenter. I'm going to do a follow-up video. Actually, I did the same thing for Signs and Wonders because I'm doing that. But you can get one of these adapters on Amazon. Really straightforward, not this one, but this is one that I've used. As long as it's USB 3.0, you can have this, and this will go out into give you another HDMI output that you can connect directly to the ATEM. I've done this on a couple of places, and that works very well. I will put a link to that in the description. USB B to HDMI display adapter. All right. Gonna be cutting it short here in a few minutes, folks. All right, I just answered that question. Also, folks, please, you don't have to post the same question multiple times. I'm going in the past and catching up to where you are to answer everybody's question. All right, Paul said that he just posted his specs on our Facebook group. And again, if you're not a part of that, please join that. All right, so the specs that Paul has on here, let me look these up. That is an Intel i5 1135G7. The G normally means that it has graphics embedded. So let's look at the processor here. All right, here are the specs of the processor. 4 cores, 8 threads, okay. It does have embedded graphics on it, on the chip. So it's just like a APU that I use with AMD stuff. If you're reaching a limit, and at this point, I think it's just the i5. That's really is. It's like, even though it's 4 cores and 8 threads, it's just not putting out enough power. Yeah, that's strange. I mean, I would typically say, if it was your own stuff and it wasn't for your live stream, I was like, you could think about overclocking it, but nah. I don't even overclock my stuff like that anymore. Even though all of my CPUs are water cooled, I just don't do that. I need something that's reliable, and I don't like pushing the limits of stuff like that. But yeah, that's the only thing I can think of. It's surprising. I would think just make sure you got everything you're using, the hardware encoding. That's what I didn't think about doing. Make sure inside of it you have the Intel GPU selected for your encoding, and you're not trying to lean on the CPU software to handle everything. Maybe that will improve it. Let's see. Al, I need some more info on that. I mean, like, what are you using? What are you coming out from? I mean, because typically, you would just need a splitter, kind of like what we've talked about, but again, need some more detail on the setup. And then also, this is kind of like what I talked about with our the Video Smart Hub. If you're doing something like that, you need a matrix. A matrix will allow you to have, normally a splitter is a 1 in times however many outs, a 2 out, 4 out, 8 out, 16 out, something like that. But based off of, if you want to send specifics, then you need a matrix, meaning that you have multiple inputs and multiple outputs. So like at Antioch, they have a VGA one that actually we got to get rid of now, a 8 input, 8 output. So we can have 8 a one-to-one relation, or we can send any mixture of that stuff in the matrix. You need something like that to handle that. But I think that's about it, folks. Big shout out to my Patreon supporters and YouTube members. Their names are on the screen right now, and YouTube can become. And why did it pause? Come on, bro. Why are you pausing on me? Man, see, right when I'm trying to get some stuff, it doesn't work. And I had the video done. Why is it not playing? I ain't got time to work on that. It was playing right before I did a test run before I went live, so I don't know. Hey, everybody has some issues with your tech folks, as you can see. But again, I want to give a big shout out to Patreon supporters, YouTube members. YouTube member, you can become a YouTube member by clicking the join button down below, or you can go to patreon.com/AJaytheCEO, and you can get started for as little as $1 a month. No matter which way you pick, folks, you are helping us train and transform media ministries all over the world. If no one's ever told you, folks, thank you for your dedication and all the hard work that you're doing in media ministry. I don't know if you got a chance to see the video that I put out of Know Those That Dwell Among You. More of those are coming out. Just want to give a big shout out and use the platform that I got to publicly and globally thank you for what you're doing and why you do what you're doing. Because a lot of people in our ministries don't know why we do the stuff that we do. They think we're kind of crazy. We think we just know it's just tech stuff. You just love to do that stuff. No, not all the time. There's a purpose behind why we do what we do. And I just want to thank you for all the hard work that you're doing. I hope all of y'all have a great day, evening, afternoon, wherever you is all over the face of the planet. And we'll be catching y'all in the next video, folks. Later.